Less than 2 weeks away from football, Dak and the boys versus Brady and the Bucs to kick off the season. Does Dallas have the most dangerous offense in the NFL? Meanwhile, Packers offense locked and loaded for the season. Does Aaron Rodgers finally have the weapons he has always wanted? And Cam Newton back at Patriots practice yesterday and reportedly looking good. You know what that means, everyone. Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Alongside Nick Wright, Kevin Wiles, and Mark Schlereth. Stink joining us this morning. I'm Jenna Wolfe. Nick, quarterback controversy in New England, is that even a thing?
Oh, it's a thing this year. It's a thing this year, but I think Cam steadied himself yesterday. I think Cam retook the lead in that quarterback race.
He's back in it. We do have a conversation in New England, but we first have to start talking some Bucs and Chiefs. The last two teams standing last season, Pro Football Focus and Nick's family, and Nick's entire extended family have Mahomes and the Chiefs with the league's highest projected win total at 12.5. Brady and the Bucs sitting right behind them at 12. Could last year's Super Bowl team be this year's Super Bowl teams? Stink, start with you. Which team do you trust more to get back to the big game, Bucs or Chiefs?
I would probably go with the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs are just so incredibly talented. They had one big issue this offseason. That was rebuilding their offensive line, and they took that issue very seriously. Andy Reid and the general manager, Veach, took that very seriously. They rebuilt that offensive line. I think they have actually gotten better with more depth over the course of the offseason. We'll see how some of the young players at center and right guard play. But all the reports at camp is they are mauling people. They look great up front. And I'm telling you, that's really going to be the biggest issue, because when you talk about Chiefs football, they are so incredibly talented outside the numbers. And really one of the big things that they've had success with over the last few years is being able to get 5 eligibles out at all times, meaning they don't have to keep backs in. They don't have to keep tight ends in. They don't have to keep some of their weapons in from a protection standpoint. They allow those 5 guys to stud up, to take care of business up front. And then if they do break down, which they will occasionally, that's when Patrick Mahomes becomes magic. That's when the off-schedule stuff is unbelievable. So in the AFC, as deep as the AFC is, I still think they are the best team. They are the team to be reckoned with.
Well, listen, that's obviously correct. And so I'm going to focus on the other team involved in this equation. And Wilds, I am not prone to offense. I am not someone that is easily offended or bothered by commentary or questions. But this is an offensive question. And it's really no way for us to end a week, start the show with this question. The idea that this is a debatable issue is there's so much revisionist history about last year's Bucs that, again, they won the Super Bowl and the rings shine forever and the banners fly forever and we're all very happy for them. But we should be able to remember how they got there. How, in order to get to the Super Bowl, they had to go through Washington's 4th string quarterback making his first career start, and that game was a 1-possession game throughout late into the 4th quarter. And then in round 2, it is late in the 3rd quarter. The Saints have the ball. The Saints are up a touchdown, and then Jared Cook fumbles, and then Drew Brees melts down, and they move on. And then in round 3, they're up against the Packers without David Bakhtiari, and the Packers have a pre-half and post-half meltdown that leads to that victory. That's how the Bucs got to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, on the other hand, got to the Super Bowl the way they, consistently do. No road games, not really any adversity. They lead the Browns for 56 consecutive minutes to end that game. They lead the Bills for, 39 consecutive minutes, including a 38-6 run to win that game. So if the question is, if these two teams matched up again in the Super Bowl, who would win? That's actually, you could say, how can the Chiefs combat what the Bucs did in last year's Super Bowl? Bucs were so dominant. But who could get there? The Bucs needed every break imaginable to get there. The Chiefs, on the other hand, Mahomes got injured in their first playoff game, and they still never trailed and were never in real peril. So to me, the Chiefs are the best bet in football, or the best bet in sports, to get back to the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, their whole offseason was, we don't want to get better, we just want to get older. Okay, we'll see if that works, but I don't think this is a debatable topic.
So that I agree with you. I hate to say it. It's the biggest upset that's happening, other than your hair looks better than mine today. I was like, holy cow, what is going on? Rough Friday for
thanks,
the old man. So, hey, Schlereth,
wow.
you won back-to-back Super Bowls. It felt like when the Bucs went into last season, they were like aggressively trying to get better. We got Tom Brady. Are we good enough? We got O.J. Howard. No, let's get Gronk. Oh, we got Mike Evans. We got Godwin. Nope, let's get A.B. All right, we're solid at the running back position. Nope, Leonard Fournette is available. Let's get him. Get better, get better, get better, get better. Then comes the offseason. They're in the parade like, no, nobody's going anywhere. We're going to sign all our starters. They're going to bring back 22 guys. And I think a lot of people out there are thinking that's what you do. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what's the balance of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and if you're not getting better, you're getting worse?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think, number one, you have to look at how talented they are as a football team. And I'm talking about depth on defense. They're young on the back end of their defense, and they played exceptionally well in that defensive backfield. Their two linebackers, I mean, those guys are football playing Jessies. They can run, they can hit, they can cover, they can play zone, they can do everything. So I think when you talk about overall talent, you know, this league usually turns over at about a rate of about 30-35% from a roster standpoint. And you're talking about not only 22 starters, but they get Antonio Brown back. So it's like 23 starters that they retained. And I think the biggest thing is the drive of Tom Brady. And it is like, I won't be surprised 5 years from now when he reveals that he's not actually a human. He's an alien. It won't surprise me at all, because the guy is so driven. And I'll tell you, here's the amazing thing. It's not your desire to play on Sunday. It's your desire to work Monday through Saturday that ends up ending your career. You just get tired. You get beat up. Your body breaks down. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the fact that that guy isn't sated by 7 Super Bowls, 10 Super Bowl appearances, well, if you ask him what his favorite ring is, he'll say the next one. And he means it. And the effect that he has had on that football team, from he walks into that locker room and guys think they're professionals. Guys think they know how to prepare. Guys think they know all this stuff. And then they realize, oh, crap, I'm not even close compared to the way that guy works and the way that guy prepares. And that's what he has done for that organization. So he's absolutely amazing from that standpoint, and that's why I still give them a ton of credit for the potential of winning the NFC.
Well, and so a point about kind of that line of thinking in regards to the Chiefs, and then a point about Brady. All of that is true as far as not being stated and the drive. I also think when you're doing the math on Kansas City, you've got to incorporate the fact that this is not a team coming off a Super Bowl. This is a team that was favored in the Super Bowl, and that was the worst game they have played since Patrick Mahomes took over. The fewest points, the biggest margin of defeat. It was the first time since Alex Smith was the quarterback of this team that the Chiefs have been beaten soundly. The first time they were beaten with Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback by more than 1 score. The first time they were held under 20 points with Mahomes playing quarterback, or second time under 20. First time under 10. So what level of extra almost motivation and we must get back there do they have? On the Brady thing. Listen, here's what happened with Brady. When he was 38 years old and 39 years old, folks such as myself were like, 40-year-old quarterback's never been able to do it. I think it's time to start questioning him. And then he won a couple more Super Bowls. And because of that, now there are less questions about Brady's age at 44 than there were at 39. And I am not afraid to step on that rake potentially again and say he is human and the dude's 44 years old. Like, if Stink's wrong that he's not going to reveal he's actually an alien, then it is not hating or unreasonable to say he is going to get at least slightly worse this year than he was last year, and then the previous year and the previous year, because he's 44 years old. It's George Blanda with, better hair and a nicer chin. Like, at some point, that is true. What's up, Wilds? What?
Yeah, I agree. Is that a new rule of the show? Can we do that from now on? Can we talk about great players aging and then it being fair to question? I don't know if a guy was hurt 2 of the last 3 years. Can we do that on the show?
Absolutely.
Is that allowed now,
Once
Jenna?
they hit 40. Once they hit 40.
Once they hit 40, okay.
No problem. So LeBron's got 4 more years before you got to worry about it.
I didn't say
Once they hit 40,
twice.
it's fair game. Yeah.
Shame on you. Nick's out here rake stepping. Who's going to get hurt? Not us. Hey, Bucs, by the way, open with the Cowboys. Chiefs open with the Browns week 1. Speaking of the Browns, Jadeveon Clowney out here taking shots at O-lineman yesterday. Stinks big unhappy about it. I don't know. I just assume he is. We're going to get his opinion next. First things first.
Is Clowney calling out?
We're drawing a blank. Start with a, did you hear this from Jadeveon Clowney? As in, did you hear what he said yesterday? The pass rusher took a shot at offensive lineman. Stink, that's you and your people, my friend. Clowney said, specifically on guards, we love that matchup. We feel like they're the unathletic guys. That guard position, they're not real athletes down there, so they're just physical maulers. But we try to get in there and create those matchups for certain guys, and hopefully we get some wins. Oh, boy, Stink. Jadeveon Clowney's comments yesterday were blank.
Honest. Yeah, he's 100% right. I mean, there's no question that the guards are the worst athletes on the football field. We're only slightly more athletic than television hosts. That's it. Like you think about You think about the position. Right.
I heard those shots.
Think about the position. So I have seen a transition take place on a football field a million times. I've seen a corner go to safety. I've seen a safety go to linebacker. I've seen a linebacker go to D-end. I've seen a D-end slide into defensive tackle. I've seen a defensive tackle transition to offensive guard. After offensive guard, the transition is fan. There is nowhere else to go on the football field. You don't go to the defensive side. You go offensive guard, football fan. That's how it works. But I will say this about offensive linemen in general. It is the most skilled position in football. It's the most skilled position in professional sports. Why? Name me one other position in any sport where the lesser athlete is expected to win 100% of the matchups, and if he doesn't, he sucks, and the defensive lineman goes to the Pro Bowl.
That's right.
There is no other. If you get caught up like in a switch in basketball and a 6'3" point guard blows by a 7-foot center, you don't say, man, that center is horrible. Get him out. He can't defend. No, you say that was a good switch, and they got exactly what they were looking for. If you're an offensive lineman and you get beat by a defensive lineman, you stink. He's great. 65 plays in a row, the lesser athlete has to win. Hey, when you match up in the middle of the football field, a supreme tight end matches up against a like athlete, a safety or a linebacker that can run. A corner matches up with a wide receiver. There is no other position. In boxing, the weight classes are the same. We keep them the same. There is no other position in all of sports where the lesser athlete is expected to win 100% of the battles, and if he doesn't, he stinks. That's why it's the most skilled position in football. Nick, I could throw you a football, you catch it and throw it back. If I was in studio, I'd whip your ass in one-on-ones. There is no question about that.
Yeah, I'm aware. There's no question about it. Yeah, I get it. No, I get it. This is why it stinks the best. And if people don't know, they should know. Obviously, Mark Schlereth, won his Super Bowl. That's good, Miles. Won his Super Bowls playing offensive guard. My answer is similar to Stink's. I said it's absolutely true. We talk all the time, Stink, about the first guy off the bus. That who would you want to be bigger in high school than in pro sports, but to kind of be intimidating for the opposition, the first guy off the bus. And sometimes it's a D-end, sometimes it's a wide receiver. I don't know, that changes. But by that metric, last guys off the bus are you guys. because it's like, come on. Now, you and your dad are a bit of an exception. You've stayed in great shape well post your careers, all of that. But in general, it's kind of sloppy. Guys that look like they probably haven't been to a tailor ever. And it's like, wait, what are you? And it's like, oh, you can bench press 585 pounds and you breathe hot breath on the defensive player and say terrible things to him all game. But athlete, like great athlete, is not what we're thinking of. What, Wilds? I'm saying Stink's agreeing with me. Are you going to give the counter take? Are you? Go ahead.
Now, wait. There is an exception to the rule. Oh. And I would argue that Larry Allen, pound for pound, was
I knew he was going to say it.
Was the greatest athlete that's ever played in the National Football League. The guy was. There were guys that had the Larry Allen flu on Sundays. They would have the Larry Allen flu because they were like so intimidated by a guy that bench pressed 700 pounds, by a guy that could slam dunk a basketball flat-footed at 335, and a guy that could run a 4.7 40. Like the guy was one of the most exceptional pound-for-pound athletes in the history of the league, and I'm telling you, one of, if not the most dominant player I've ever witnessed.
You're writing that down, Wild?
This is the exception.
All right, Schlereth, my question is this. Bulletin board material, is this going to have any effect if guys are going up against Clowney? Are guys going to have a little extra drive? Will this end up biting Clowney that he talked a little too much and is actually putting himself in a disadvantageous position?
No, because he's 100% right. I mean, we all know it. All of us that line up inside know why we're inside. And he's right. You know what? We'll try to maul him. You know, the whole thing about AA gap blitzes and everything that you see in the National Football League right now is all about getting the one-on-one matchups with guards. That's really what it's all about. I mean, you're out there in a phone booth, and I've always said, hey, run into me in that phone booth, because if I get my hands on you, you're not going anywhere. It's about creating some space and getting that one-on-one matchup. And Jadeveon Clowney, let me tell you, he's a great player. And if they use him like he was used in the past, not in Seattle, where, not to get too technical, but they wanted him in Seattle bases out of a 57 front, meaning the weak side linebackers on line of scrimmage, meaning Jadeveon Clowney, if he's weak side, is in a 4 technique, head up over the tackle, a disadvantageous place to rush the passer. If he's on the strong side, he's in a 6 technique over the tight end, where you're getting double teamed on both sides. So when he is free to roam, when they play him as kind of a rover, an edge player, or walk him as a middle linebacker and let him rush on those guards, he's a nightmare, especially when he gets a running start. So, this doesn't, I mean, will you be mad? Will you? Yeah, but it doesn't give you an athletic advantage. You're still at a disadvantage.
And they're not going to really be able to focus on him having to deal with Garrett. But can we just get back to the most important thing Stink said? Put Stink on the screen real quick. What makes you think you could catch me? To kick my ass, you got to get your mitts on me. And all I got to do, I can just, a little shuck and jive, a little quick throat punch. You're down to your knees, and I'm out of the room. So what are you talking about? How are you getting me, buddy?
Wait a minute. If I'm standing in the doorway and you have to get out of the room, how are you going to get through the doorway?
Well,
you may have to live the rest of your life in that room. I hope it has a toilet. That's all I'm saying.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
All right, well, it is. Looking at the schedule, Browns pass rush getting the first crack at the Chiefs' 2 new guards week 1 right off the bat. So watch out, Mr. Patrick Mahomes, says Stink. Back talking Cat, Dak, and the boys.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Reports are positive these last couple of days out of Dallas on QB1's throwing shoulder. Do the Cowboys have the most dangerous offense in the NFL? We'll discuss it next. Stink, that was awesome. Thank you so much, buddy. Have a great. We got Greg Jennings with us now. Greg, good morning. We got to run the no huddle. Let's have some fun. Let's head out to Seattle. Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson. Haven't heard much from the Seahawks all-everything quarterback this preseason. Been a quiet camp after a bit of a whirlwind offseason, but with all that drama behind him, the focus is all on the field and getting the most out of this team in Russ's 10th year in Seattle. Take a listen.
I feel better than ever. I've been training like crazy, as you know, and I've been working my tail off. My mind's more clear than ever. Shane and I have been studying like crazy. I've been working my tail off all off season on the plays and the concepts and everything. I feel in command of everything I want to do. The guys look great. They look tremendous, ready to play. And so we feel very confident in what we can do. And I feel more confident in myself more than ever, and I've always felt like that. I've always felt like, for me, hand me the ball and let's go to work and let's play ball. So that's what I love most. I love the process. Some people don't like the process.
Yeah.
I don't mind the tough times. I don't mind the hard work. I don't mind the adversity. I don't mind that stuff. I thrive in it.
I know someone that likes the process. Wilds, last year at this time, we had these big expectations for us, and you saw how that all played out. You expect Russ to have the Seahawks in Super Bowl contention this season?
Well, yeah, I hope so. Go Badgers. But I'm a little bit confused, or I should say I'm optimistic about how happy Russ sounds, because part of the process, I guess, Greg, is saying, hey, if you guys don't let me throw the ball more, here are 4 teams that I'd like to be traded to, including the Bears and the Raiders. So I like that this is a good development, but I don't believe, Greg, that if the Seahawks start losing a few games, that the issues that reared their head during the offseason don't start to come back a little bit. I think Russ wants to throw the ball. I think Russ in this NFL top 100 players, he was sending out congratulations to everybody, all of his teammates that were on the list. At the same time, he dropped down from 2 to 12. I think he notices that. I think he's going to come out and have a big game, big season. But if Pete Carroll and him start to sort of disagree on how much they should run the ball, how much they should throw the ball, I think there should be a little friction that affects the team.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When you think about Russell Wilson and what he said this offseason, that doesn't go away unless you win, Wilds. Like, it is constantly thrown back in your face unless you win. If you start to lose, then now what do you do? And I like Russell Wilson, and I think he's going to have this team ready to go. They've always been a team that we've thought, when healthy, when Russell Wilson is playing at his best, this is a Super Bowl contending team. Defensively is where they have to pick up the slack. But Russell Wilson, when you listen to him, I'm with you, Wilds, you still hear that he wants that ball in his hands. He said it, put the ball in my hands and let me go.
Yep.
That's what he wants. So there's a part of him that is still holding on to that process that he started of letting me cook and let me do what I feel is best for the team versus you guys tell me what's best for the team and then we move forward accordingly. But I don't think Russell Wilson is a confrontational guy. So he'll comply all the way throughout the season and do what he needs to do, but it won't be what he wants to do.
That's right.
All right, let's head out to Dallas. Yesterday, we got more good news about Dak's shoulder as we inch our way closer to the opener, this time from his OC, Kellen Moore, who's basically seen every single pass the quarterback has thrown. Take a listen.
It was awesome to have Dak back. Obviously, in the team setting, that was the biggest thing. He's been around, obviously, each and every day in some capacity. But obviously, having him out there in 11-on-11 is huge. It's great for him. It's great for the morale of everyone on our team, I think, especially for our offense. And I thought he looked great, and we're fired up. We're just playing ball at this point. So we're not looking at anything from a limitation standpoint. We're playing football, and we're getting ready for, obviously, from his standpoint, we're getting ready for the regular season at Tampa Bay.
No limitation, says Kellen Moore. Nick, if Dak is healthy, and I know it's an if at this point, do the Cowboys have the most dangerous offense in the NFL?
No. The Cowboys will have a good to very good passing attack. But let's just assume Dak is fully healthy for all 17 games. They're going to have to fight and claw to be a top 5 offense, let alone the number 1 offense. Like, off the top of my head, Kansas City clearly is a better offense. I think Tennessee could be a dynamic offense, assuming Derrick Henry's still Derrick Henry, the addition of Julio Jones. Cleveland is as well balanced as any offense as there is in the league. That's just in the AFC. In the NFC, I think Seattle and Green Bay immediately come to mind as teams with better offenses. Here's the thing for the Cowboys. Do they have a top 3 offensive line? Not anymore. Do they have a top 5 quarterback? No, probably just outside of it. Do they have a top 10 running back? Maybe. Barely. Do they have a single top 10 receiver? No, I don't think so. I think now they might have 3 guys in the top 30, but not they don't have Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, they don't have Amari Cooper's not that. So Wilds, no, I think this will be a good to very good offense, but the best offense, I think they are quite a ways away from being that.
Okay, I think we're going to get a chance to see it pretty soon because opening night, Dallas going into Tampa, they're putting down the banner, and Tom Brady's going to want to put on a laser show. But you know what? If Dak's not on a pitch count, and he threw 58 passes against the Browns last year when they fell behind, I think Dak is going to open it up. I think, Jenna, I'm going to make an early call. We haven't had any calls yet on this whole season.
Let's hear it. Boom,
I'm going to say
boom.
Cowboys over Bucs opening night by a score of 33-28. 33-28 Cowboys
You really
win.
went there.
Mark it down, everybody. Head over to Fox Bet right now.
Really
Make some
far.
money on
Code
that.
word old
What's the
KW. Your
weather
old buddy
gonna be
KW. It's a long
that
road.
night? Yeah.
Code
we head up to Green Bay?
KW.
MVP Aaron Rodgers talked yesterday about his abundance of weapons in the wide receiver room. We don't usually hear him gloat about roster construction or anything, if I'm being honest, but for purposes of this conversation, roster construction. Take a listen.
The other thing that's, that needs probably continued attention is the guys that we got. I've talked about a number of them, but when you look at those 4 receivers that we have at the top of the depth chart, pretty special. You got the best guy in the league. You got 3 incredible role players, and that's said with the utmost amount of respect. Guys who, all 3 of them, as I answered earlier, very settled, stable guys, mentally off the field, and that allows them to be very focused competitors on the field. I think Allen and Marquez and Randall have had really good camps. They each bring a lot of different things to the table, but those guys have been a big part of us kind of gelling on offense. I feel like offensively, perimeter-wise, we've had a really nice camp.
Aaron Rodgers needs to just calm down, said nobody ever. Greg, does Rodgers finally have the weapons he's always wanted?
Well, what's interesting about this is every year we've been like, well, he needs another receiver. He needs more weapons. He needs more depth at that position. But now you listen to him and he's saying, we got what we need.
Nope,
we got
good.
basically what I need to be successful. And so I'm not going to argue with them. I think that they have a solid core. They all complement each other really well. They all do different things. You obviously got the number 1 guy in the National Football League in Devontae Adams. But I think the most important part and piece to this core is MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And the reason why is because he stretches the field, and his confidence, the way he played last year, the plays that he made, if he can catch a lot of those other balls that he did not and just take another step forward, he is the one that will pop off of the tape every time you turn the film on, alongside of Devontae Adams. Randall Cobb is very important to work that middle, and Allen Lazard does a lot of the dirty work, the physical guy, the bruiser, the guy you got to have in your wide receiver unit room. But MVS, he has speed to burn. And if he is successful and consistent, which is a word that Aaron Rodgers uses when talking about him, he's the one to watch.
So here's the thing. I was just trying to look up the numbers.
You're back.
From the last time Aaron Rodgers, I should say, had 4 receivers he really trusted. And I feel like that ended in a Super Bowl and then a 15-1 season. and Greg Jennings was intimately involved in it. You, Jordy, Driver, and James Jones, to me and tell me if you disagree, Greg, the last time there were 4 guys that he fully trusted on any given play. Now, I'm not saying this is going to have that same result where you guys win a Super Bowl and then the next year you go 15-1. Obviously, playoffs didn't go the way you had hoped. But I do think that this is what Rodgers has been, I don't want to say pining for, but one of the things that Rodgers has been frustrated about is it's felt to him, while they've been trying to develop the younger guys, MVS and Lazard notably, and let Cobb walk out the door, that he had Devontae and then a big drop-off. And obviously there's still a big drop-off between Devontae because he's so good, but Wilds, if he can rely on those other 3 guys consistently, it's going to make Devontae's job much easier, and it's going to make this offense all the more dynamic.
Okay, I totally agree with you, and I agree with you too, Greg. But it reminds me a little bit of Brady, where we knew that the Bucs receiving core was excellent, but Brady still had something in his heart for AB, and they went out and got AB. We know that our old buddy Jake Kummerow still out there in Buffalo. You got to make a move for him, We know you can't have too many great guys. Let's get Kummerow. I know Beasley might end up just becoming a full-time MC, but and the price of Kummerow is going to go up if that happens. But go out and get Kummerow. It's a little extra benefits, like when you're giving somebody birthday presents. Here's one more. It's like Steve Jobs. Here's one more thing. New iPhone. Go get Kummerow, Gutenkoos. Can't go wrong. Kummerow.
Just real quick, Greg, did I insult you with the comparison, or is it a fair comp? I wanted to hear Wild's take, so I didn't get to ask you. Or is it it's a fair comp?
No, it's fair comp. It's fair comp. We were much better.
I was worried.
Much better.
It. No, nobody would say that.
See, there it is. I knew he was going to say that. I knew it. I knew it. We were
is that fair comp kind of like...
I got to.
Set up to New England, where the quarterback battle between Mac and Cam is still ongoing. A wee behind Bill Belichick doesn't have his starter set. Back after this.
I knew Greg didn't love it.
First things first, back here with Greg Jennings, and we're talking the New England Patriots this Friday morning. We still don't know who will be under center week 1, Cam Newton or Mac Jones. Cam looked good in his first day back at practice yesterday after a 5-day stint in COVID protocol. Word is he was efficient and he was back up to speed. That after a solid, impressive week of work from Mac in Cam's absence, but Bill Belichick still not ready to spill anything before joint practice yesterday. Take a listen.
At what point do you have to sort of transition here from the spirited quarterback competition to having a starter, giving them the majority of the reps, and getting them prepared for Miami and to be the starter throughout the rest of the year?
Yeah, I don't have a timetable on that, Chris, so can't tell you.
I mean, do you feel like, I know you said you don't have a timetable, but do you feel like that's something that's coming up soon here as we get to the end of training camp? You'll approach that or make that decision at the end of training camp here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure exactly how that'll go.
The gift that keeps on giving. Nick, you buying that Belichick doesn't know who his week 1 starting quarterback will be, and we're about 2 weeks out from the start of the season?
Yeah, absolutely I'm buying it. And I think Belichick's going to use every last moment to try to figure this out and to make sure Cam Newton doesn't have another protocol slip-up. I think if Goodell sent out a memo was like, oh my goodness, guys, screw up in league office, season actually starts this Sunday, not a couple Sundays from now, Cam Newton would be the starter. I feel confident in that. Even though Mac Jones made up some ground and Mac Jones had the really good practice Wednesday in Cam Newton's last day, I think Cam Newton is still in the lead. But I don't think Belichick is going to make the decision until a week before the first game. So I think he's going to use, obviously, the rest of today and then all of next week for evaluation purposes and then name his starter headed into, as we're on, the days leading in to week 1 opening with the Bucs and the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. I think that it would be a different story if Cam hadn't just missed that time, because Cam, while not being named the starter, was clearly going to be the starter. And now I think that door is open. And I personally believe, even though the Patriots, Greg, did a nice job of, I don't want to say covering it up, but covering for Cam a bit. They didn't kill him as far as what they released about why he violated protocol. They called it a misunderstanding. I think there was a bit of a fractured trust, as much as you're our starting quarterback. You need to know the rules and regulations to be available. So I think it put his job in more tenuous status. So I buy that he doesn't yet know who the starter is, but I think as of right now, the starter is likely Cam.
Yeah, I buy that he doesn't know who the starter is, because Cam Newton has complicated things and he has opened the door and the questions of the what ifs because of the COVID protocol. But when you look at this situation, it's not even just what Cam Newton provides and what Mac Jones provides as far as talent and athletic ability at the quarterback position. It's upstairs. It's mental. It's the fragility there that Bill Belichick, I think, is more aware of than anyone of Cam Newton. Because you have a guy who is former MVP of the National Football League, who you have lobbied for, you have pretty much supported all last year, all offseason, and you said you believe in his abilities, you believe in his talents. However, you draft a first-round pick because you know this is going to be our future moving forward, not Cam Newton. But you feel like you owe him that opportunity, and then this happens. But if you start Mac Jones, if you just outright start Mac Jones, I don't know if you have Cam Newton in his most optimal mental state if anything were to happen to Mac Jones. And so that's why I think Bill Belichick is like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to wait to the last minute to make sure I'm going to give even Cam Newton another opportunity while he gets his feet back under him in practice to show us that, yes, he is our day one starter.
Yeah, so I think Cam ends up starting against the Dolphins, and here's why. I think if we start Mac Jones is never coming out of the game. That means Mac Jones, if he remains healthy, should be the Patriots quarterback for the next decade. You're not going to start Mac Jones, and if he struggles, like pretty much all rookie quarterbacks will do, you're not going to go back to Cam Newton. But if you go the other way, you start Cam, let him play a little bit. Cam was benched 3 times last year. Let Mac Jones come in and see what he can do, and then you make the move. But I don't think you go rookie to vet. We saw they've opened up against the Dolphins. We saw Brian Flores do that. Brian Flores had Fitzpatrick in. Oh, we know that Tua is the future. Even though Fitzpatrick was winning, Tua got in. Tua's starting to see stuff, not used to it. He's winning games, throwing for like 90 yards. Then he starts to get a little confused by the defense. They want to win the game. Brian Flores trying to make a playoff push. So what does he do? All right, Tua, you're out. Fitzmagic is in. All right, that was a weird one-time thing. But Tua's still the starter. Huh? I'm a little bit confused. We need to go move forward a few more games. All right, fourth quarter, we're down. We need a spark. Oh, what was that, a spark? You want some magic? Here comes Fitzmagic back in. I think that really hurts Tua's development. I don't expect the Patriots to do it, Greg. I think it's just going to be clean. I think it's going to be Cam for a certain amount of time. And then if Cam loses that job, Mac will be ready to go. You go ahead, Nick.
And that's it.
No, I think that I was going to go to something else from last year, and Greg and I discussed this yesterday that I think is instructive, which is even when Cam got benched at the end of some games, Belichick, he didn't say, I don't know who's starting next week. He didn't waver.
That's right.
He always immediately said Cam's the starter. And we discussed it, Greg, on this show mostly as that's Bill Belichick being, not paying tribute, but I'll say that, paying tribute to how hard Cam's worked and paying respect to what he has earned. And we talked about what a good relationship they must have. You mentioned that might have been part of it, but what also might have been part of it is that you might lose Cam mentally from the team if he is actually benched, if he is now your backup quarterback and not your starting quarterback, and that Belichick knows that if Mac Jones is the number 2, he probably expected, I'm probably going to be the number 2. I'm a rookie quarterback. There's a veteran quarterback on the team, and it's not going to hurt his buy-in or his ability to stay locked in throughout the season. That if Cam is told for the first time in his football life, you're not the starting quarterback, we have no idea what that will do to Cam's attentiveness, Cam's drive, any of these things. I'm not saying it'll go terrible, but nobody knows because Cam's never been in that spot. And I think you mentioned this yesterday, that Belichick is acutely aware of that.
He has to be. He has to be. When you think about Bill Belichick, like, he uses every man on his roster. He does not care what your ability is, what you've done last year. He's never cared so much. And yet we look at this situation with Cam Newton and it's like, why is he tiptoeing around it? Why did he tiptoe around it last year? And that's the only thing I can think of. You have a veteran guy who mentally can potentially, this be his last opportunity. Like, I just don't see Cam Newton saying, I'm going to sign up to be a backup quarterback this moment moving forward in my career. I just don't see that happening. And Bill Belichick understands I may need this guy at some point. If I pull the trigger now, I may not have him when I need him most.
Can I give you an alternate read on it? It was a little bit of Belichick having a fondness for Cam and the hard work that he put in, and also like the contract that he signed. I also think it's a little bit of Jarrett Stidham is not the guy. And Brian Hoyer, we tried to start him against the Chiefs, and we thought that he was going to be solid, and he's not the guy either. Cam, despite getting benched, is still our best option. And when the draft comes around, I'm going to call my buddy Nick Saban, and I'm thinking about Mac Jones. I bet he'll still be there. So I do think it's one part Belichick supporting Cam, but I think it's a decent part of they knew that Jarrett Stidham wasn't the guy, and Hoyer's lifetime backup was actually worse than they thought.
Hoyer doesn't, Hoyer to me is a non-issue here, but I do think there are a lot of teams that even if Stidham looked bad in practice, even if they knew we're probably drafting a quarterback, might have late in the season said, we're going to let Stidham get a start because we did spend a draft pick on him. We went late into the offseason last year where it was looking like he was QB1 on the depth chart. And I do think that the fact that they knew they could lose Cam if they did that played a part in it. Now, at this point, I don't think they're as concerned about that if Cam really struggles because Mac Jones is first-round pick, and you're not going to give Cam Newton 3 years of kind of trial basis to figure it out. If it doesn't work out for Cam this year, he's not going to be on the Patriots. But I 1,000% agree with Greg that Cam Newton, I would be shocked if he ever signs up to be a backup quarterback. I think once Cam's days as a starter are done, Cam is going to retire. I think Cam has made too much money. He is too famous. He's too much of almost an NFL cultural icon to be like, hey, where's Cam Newton? It's like, oh, he's backing up Justin Herbert. I don't see that for age, a few years down the road for Cam. Once he's done being a starter, I think he's done playing. What is the list of guys who have won a league MVP at the position and then been like, now I'm a backup? I can't think of anybody. Like, did Rich Gannon maybe? I'm not sure. I just don't think.
Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, sure, yeah, but Warner's story is a little different, right? You're bagging groceries, you're playing in the CFL. Then you're the MVP, as opposed to Cam's Heisman Trophy #1 pick, Jenna.
But listen, Cam just shouldn't get too comfortable. And I don't know, maybe he thought that this was his position and it was locked when he came into this season having a year under his belt. You guys talked about how hard he's worked and how he deserves this opportunity. The Athletic is reporting that Mac Jones has been getting to work every day at 4:30. He stays almost 18 hours a day, so he's completely putting the work in as well. 4:30 in the morning, which is still 2 hours after I get to work.
Right, I actually not for that, Jenna.
Not 2 hours.
You know,
after you
Mac
get
Jones.
What?
Text me. I'm on that.
When Mac Jones, simmer down, buddy. Simmer down, buddy. 4:30, putting in 18-hour days.
Talking Dak and the boys.
Launching the space shuttle, Mac Jones.
The Athletics reporting it.
Yeah, well,
can we talk about Dak Prescott for a second?
I don't like it. Sure, Jenna, go ahead.
Yeah, those are facts. It's a fact.
Go ahead.
That's what the alarm clock says. Is Dallas a lock to win the NFC East with QB1 seemingly healthy, ready to go? Spoiler alert, Greg does not think so. We're back after this. Coach back with us. We got some breaking news this morning out of New Orleans. Adam Schefter reporting the Saints have named Jameis Winston the starting quarterback for this coming season, at least for game one, after a training camp battle with Taysom Hill. Jameis, who looked the part in their last preseason game, is going to be the guy. So, Nick, are the Saints making the right move, going with Jameis over Taysom?
Well, yeah, I mean, going with Jameis over Taysom, over Simeon, over Book, over the other two actual quarterbacks on the roster, yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, we just showed La Tortuga pitching. He's not a pitcher. We could show Taysom Hill playing quarterback. He's not a quarterback. You can do things that aren't your position for fun or to try him out or for novelty, and that's what Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback was always going to be. Taysom, and by the way, this is where the Saints are really fortunate, is that Jameis played well and that Jameis didn't look terrible this preseason and they felt like their hand was forced. Because by Jameis playing quarterback, it allows you to play Taysom where he can actually help you as that utility, do-it-all type of player that might throw a few passes on trick plays. But Taysom Hill, as a starting quarterback in this league, was dead on arrival. And I didn't understand why Sean Payton wanted to pretend that wasn't the case. I didn't understand last year why he seemed committed when they were in a playoff push that they were going to start him over Jameis, even though thanks to their defense they won more of those games than they lost. But this was never a real battle in anyone's mind but Sean Payton's. And I'm glad, mercifully, Coach, that we can stop pretending that the Saints have a quarterback question. Jameis Winston is the only actual quarterback on their roster that has any chance of leading them to success with respect to Trevor Simeon, who is a 7th-round pick, made a nice career for himself, but you don't want him to be a starting quarterback. So, yeah, they're making the right decision.
Well, you're right in the sense that it does allow them to utilize probably the best skill sets of both guys, and Taysom as a change of pace guy coming in and being able to do the quarterback driven runs and create all the problems that we talk about when you've got a player like that and what that pressure it puts on opposing defenses. So that's good. And there's a lot of discussion now from the analytics side about the value of big plays. And obviously Jameis gives you the best potential to create big plays. And the thought process is that big plays are more important than turnovers. And I'm not sure that's the case. It's hard for me to believe that's going to play out. And the success of this experiment is how much that Jameis has actually learned from his previous experience. When you throw 88 interceptions over the course of your career, when that's the thing that is continually making your team lose, and the reason that you had to change locations, you've got to get that corrected. Now it's hard for me to think of cases where a guy who threw or throws a lot of interceptions suddenly dramatically changes who he is. But hopefully for him and for the Saints that is the case. And I love the quote, you don't always have to be Batman. You can be Bruce Wayne. And if he lives that and takes the checkdowns and doesn't take the unnecessary chances, this could be a great thing for his career. It could be a great thing for the Saints. But it's one winning season in 5 years as a starter in a new location doesn't bode well.
All right, so Coach, I think that the common idea here is like, hey, Jameis will start. we'll bring Taysom in, change of pace. It confuses the defense. The defensive coordinator has to plan a lot more. The Saints offense feels versatile. I'm not 100% sure that is going to work if you were just in the middle of a quarterback battle. Jameis, number one pick. He started all the game. He hadn't started in a long time, but he's a starting quarterback. Am I just supposed to assume that Jameis, rhythm-wise as he gets into it, is going to be cool or at least be at his best if Taysom's coming in and Taysom averaged 17 snaps with Drew Brees? That if Taysom starts getting 17 snaps with Jameis Winston, do we think that in a hunt to be versatile, that could actually hurt Jameis's rhythm as he's trying to, find some flow within the offense?
No, I don't think so. And Rodney Harrison's told me a long time ago that the league has a way of humbling you, and that's what's happened. He was the pick that he was, and he had the career that he's had so far, and he's had to go to a new place and establish himself. And this is one of those situations where he's got to. It's no longer about him being the number one draft choice or the starting quarterback. He's got to show that he can contribute to the team in a meaningful way and not put the team in bad situations by making poor decisions. And being able to use Taysom as a supplement to that, as a way to take reps off the opposing defense and in preparation for Jameis, that's a huge benefit. That is a significant benefit for Jameis to have. But it's also a very strong reminder that if you don't take care of the football, which is the most important thing you have to do in the NFL, then there is someone else that is going to come in and take care of the football. And having that consistently there is a good thing.
Yeah, except the only pushback I would have to that is who's that guy that's going to come in and take care of the football? Because it's not Taysom Hill. He's a sack and turnover machine. Maybe it is Simeon. I'm the only guy talking about Trevor Simeon. It's me and his uncle that are like, hey, why wasn't he in this battle? But maybe that's who it is. But here's the other reality of it. This is interesting because Jameis was a number one pick and Heisman Trophy winner, and there are this kind of odd Taysom Hill stands out there. And because the Saints for the last 15 years have been a super relevant team. But that bill has now come due, and the Saints, no matter who won this quarterback battle, are going to be bad. That's the other element of it. There's going to be a lot more Saints talk in the offseason than once the season gets going. They spent all that money, Coach, put it on the credit card, want to win one with Drew, we'll worry, the salary cap's fake, we'll push money down the road, we'll do voidable years, we'll do all this stuff. And now that roster is thin. They actually still have a decent amount of top-level players, but there will be injuries, and their second and third level guys are non-existent. Michael Thomas is still, we don't know when he's coming back after the week 1 injury he suffered. This is a team that is not in a position to contend for anything this year. So I get why the hope is, hey, play Jameis, because he learned from a year under Drew, learned from Sean Payton, got his eyes fixed. He's always had a bunch of talent. Because if Jameis can be a 15 interception guy, he's a good quarterback. I know that's more than you would like, but 15 you can handle. One turnover a game you can handle, given the fact that he has such a live arm. And so that's what this year's about, figuring out if Jameis can be their quarterback moving forward, because they're not going to be a good football team this year.
Well, to your point about paying the bill, they do have to pay the bill, and eventually you have to make really tough decisions. But you say if it's 15 turnovers or 15 interceptions, that's one part of the equation. But it's also how many touchdowns is it? Is it 20 touchdowns and 15 interceptions? Or are we assuming that it's going to be a 30 touchdown, 15 interception? Yeah, it depends on what that ratio is. And his ratio has never been very, very good. And when you're a good team, it's hard to overcome turnovers. If you're not a good team, it's almost impossible to overcome turnovers. So if you feel like your defense is solid, if you feel like you can run the ball effectively and you can manage games, sometimes you have to do that in order to win. And look, I'm cheering for Jameis. I think that he's an exciting player. He's a likable guy. You want to see everybody get a second opportunity and take advantage of it. And the most important question he has to answer is if he's able to now fix this problem. And I really hope he is. Now, history tells you that guys tend to be who they are.
Not. Yep.
But to Nick's point, are you setting Jameis up to fail with the way that roster is set up and who they've got right now? We shall see. Hey, long road to the big game just beginning. Which team is more likely to make it back to the Super Bowl this season? Chiefs or Bucs? Break it down on the other side. First things first on a Friday. Yeah. Hey, tomorrow, college football kicks off on Fox. Big Ten battle awaits. Dual threat Adrian Martinez leading Nebraska against Illinois, 1 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. All right, time now for some stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. And we are talking about the last two teams standing last season in the NFL, the Bucs and the Chiefs. Pro Football Focus has Kansas City with the league's highest projected win total at 12.5. Then Brady and the Bucs sitting right behind them at 12. Could last year's Super Bowl teams be this year's Super Bowl teams? All right, Nick, I got a really strong feeling. I know which team you trust more to get back. Tell us why the Chiefs will be playing in Super Bowl 56.
Well, Jenna, I'd actually rather tell you why the Bucs will not be, because you are correct. Like, everybody knows the Chiefs will be there. Because how do you get to the Super Bowl? You got to win 3 playoff games. Unless you're the Chiefs, you only have to win 2, because every year Mahomes has been the starter. They have a bye. How do you get to the Super Bowl? Probably got to go on the road and beat somebody. Well, unless you're the Chiefs, because since Mahomes has been the starter, every playoff game they've played has been at Arrowhead because they have home field every single year. So they don't have to go on the road. They get one fewer game. That's why they're in the Super Bowl every year. Then you have the Bucs. What was their path like? Did they have the bye? No. They actually had to win 3 games. Oh, how many were at home? Well, none of them. Oh, okay. Well, that was a really hard road. Well, you'd think so. And then I tell you, remember that first playoff game when they were playing the 7-9 Washington football team on their first, second, third, their 4th starting quarterback in his first career start, and they still barely escaped with a win. And then the next game, they're playing New Orleans. Drew Brees, clearly a shell of his former self. It's going to be his last game of professional football. Yet New Orleans is beating them soundly, 20-13, late in the third quarter. And then it's just a turnover factory. Jared Cook fumbles, Brees interception. And all of a sudden, the Bucs are in the NFC Championship game. And in the NFC Championship game, it's like, hey, Green Bay Packers, how about your all-pro, potential future Hall of Famer left tackle, David Bakhtiari? You don't have him. How about you melt down to end the first half and start the second half? And still, it's a 5-point game. Green Bay's about to get the ball back. Tom Brady throws an incompletion, and then, what's that? Pass interference? Brady's going to the Super Bowl. That's how the Bucs got there. You think those things are all happening again? I don't. You think a team that's offseason plan was let's not improve, let's just age is going to go back? I don't. So, Coach, obviously, like everybody knows, of course the Chiefs will be in the Super Bowl. That's not exciting. But I don't think the Bucs are going to have all those dominoes fall the way they did last year. So I'd be shocked if the Bucs are back in it.
Yeah, I don't love the way that you have a reason why Tampa won every game, and it's always because some just good fortune happened. And I'm sure every game that Kansas City loses, it's because some misfortune happened. I get that. Now, when I was in New England, we won the first. When I was in New England, we won the first Super Bowl. We had a very hard road to get there, and we had to beat a good Oakland team in the snow, and then we had to beat. We had to, whatever. We had to beat a good. Hey, we just play by the rules. Whatever the rules are, we play by the rules. The Pittsburgh team was 13-3. We had to play at Pittsburgh. They had already had their Super Bowl tickets. booked, and we saw how that went. And then we played a team that we were 14-point underdogs to, and we beat them in the Super Bowl as well. So there was a very hard path.
Great
now,
defense.
what I will say is the next year, it was very different, and it was a learning curve. And I've talked to you about this and talked about this a lot. Success is like a martini. It relaxes you. We thought we were better than we were. We thought we could show up and play, and that was going to be good enough. But you don't realize that the other teams now take you and treat you differently, and you have to be up every single game, and we get knocked out of the playoffs. Now, I think after that, we go back and win back-to-back Super Bowls. I thought Kansas City did a great job handling success last year. And I think the failure that they had last year is going to burn in a different kind of way. And the mistakes that they made, they're going to learn from. And to me, that's why I think they're poised to be ahead of the Bucs in this discussion, because now Tampa has to go through that process of dealing with success. Their advantage is having Tom Brady, who's been through it a bunch of times, so he can help coach that group up. But until you go through it collectively, it's a hard lesson to learn. So plus Kansas City, didn't they get sweet new locker rooms, Nick? I'm sure that you have the same thing in your house. So you add that in, and boom, really nice. it's obviously edged them.
Nice accommodation.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Very fancy.
Coach, can I show you the Bucs schedule when you talk about sort of coming off success? They open up with the Cowboys. I could see the Cowboys winning that game. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Cowboys win it. I think they lose against the Falcons. But these next two games, I think, are really hard. You got to go to L.A. Aaron Donald, they'll be ready to rock. I think the Rams win that one, and they treat the Bucs just like they treated Russell Wilson last year in the playoffs. And then you have the biggest game in regular season NFL history going back up to Foxborough. I think the Patriots win that. So I think the Bucs start 1-3. Do you think that is an outrageous sort of hypothetical I put out there?
Well, that first game of the season, to me, was, after winning a Super Bowl, was pretty magical, and the amount of emotion and intensity and feeling that you have that gave you, in my experience, gave you an edge in the opening game. So I think they'll be fine against Dallas. I'm excited to see what they do against New England. I think that'll be interesting from so many perspectives, and I think that'll be really interesting from the perspective of how Bill treats Brady defensively, having all those years of experience, and will that now set the tone for how Brady is treated the remainder of the season, playing against Bill's defense and what Bill knows about Tom so early, seeing how he approaches it, to me, from a coaching perspective, is a game that you not only have to watch, you have to study, because nobody knows that player and his weaknesses better than Bill.
So exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. So, but that's a really interesting point about setting the blueprint for, how to slow down that Bucs offense. But we can show that schedule again, because here's the other element.
You love a schedule, Nick.
Here's what I don't love, though, Coach. How is it possible that Tom Brady these two things are true? He's in the Super Bowl every year, and every year when they do the strength of schedule rankings, it's like, Brady's got the second easiest schedule. Brady's got the third easiest schedule. Every time in New England, we had to hear it. Every time. And that's not by like a analytics projection. It's just like, hey, how many games did your opponents win last year? And I know it doesn't translate year to year. And I'm looking at it again. I'm like, wait. So let's say they start 1-3. Could the Bucs miss the playoffs? Nope. You know why? Look at the final three games. Could it be more of a red carpet rolled out for Tampa to go into the playoffs hot? We'll give you Carolina, the Jets, Carolina again. It's not enough that for 19 years in New England, 19 years, there was never a franchise quarterback in the division. Never. Peyton Manning was there, Tom Brady's rookie year. But guess what? They kicked him out. They created a whole new division. Like, no, you got to go to the AFC South. The AFC South doesn't exist. Yep, God forbid, Tom Brady have to deal with a franchise quarterback. Nope, it's going to be a bunch of nonsense. And now it's like, you go to the AFC South. Drew Brees is there. Nope, Drew Brees retires. The Panthers have Cam Newton. Nope, he's gone. They're going to run out whoever the hell they're running. It is so frustrating.
Nick.
How they get the NFC East?
Nick.
Why do they get the NFC East? I know people will say, "Oh, it's just the order," but how? They get the NFC East. Oh, that's great.
Wait
oh,
a
they
second.
get the AFC East. He gets to play the AFC East again. What? Tell me.
Okay. So how many NFL championships do you need to win before you recognize that the player's good? How many NBA championships do you have to win before you recognize that Jordan's good? At some point, it's not about the football gods have just anointed these players. The NBA gods just anointed that player to be great. When you have consistent success time and time again, and look, we can look at a schedule now, but we all know that there's playoff teams that are not going to be in the playoffs. There's teams that aren't very good that are suddenly going to be very good. And about, week 4 or 5, all these strengths of schedules and things that we went into the season knowing were certainties are going to be radically different.
No. That, of course, that all is true. And no, I've said for a decade, I have felt, ever since the Seahawks Super Bowl, his 4th Super Bowl, I said Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback to ever live. But how many breaks can a guy get? I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, Coach, you talked about it. You explained the whole thing. You roll your eyes. His first Super Bowl against the Rams. I'm just curious. Hey, Coach, was that a Brady Super Bowl, or was that a your defense beat the hell out of Marshall Faulk Super Bowl? I don't know. I'm just asking. Like the other team effort. The last Super Bowl against the Rams, when you had 13 points, that'll win you a Super Bowl. Have you ever heard of a Super Bowl where you scored 13 points and won? Nope. But Tom Brady did it somehow. It's just unbelievable. And then I look at the schedule. I didn't realize they go Jets, Panthers to end the year. Crystal ball, Coach. The Bucs go into the playoffs red hot. Look out for them. Just like last year. They just terrible teams to end the year.
Get him back.
It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable.
Last year they were a very average team through 10 games? Right, and then things started to click, because here's the reality: the harder you work, the luckier you get. That's how life works. The harder you work, the luckier you get, and that guy sets the tone in terms of work ethic, consistency.
Who's the hardest working guy in the NFL,
and
Nick?
At some point, you got to recognize that it's just not about how the universe feels about someone.
Oh, that's a legal hit.
Go on, Nick.
I like these highlights of Mahomes getting helmet-to-helmeted and punched in the face about how that makes Brady great. It's just unbelievable. It's not how lucky you are.
Coach,
a tipped ball interception.
Wonderful week.
Brady's amazing. It's unbelievable.
See you Monday.